Hello everybody and welcome to Rodney Grimes' Glory Days of Wrestling. The footage I'm about to present to you now is from the great state of Georgia back in the mid-1980s. It features Steve Keirn taking on Kevin Sullivan right there in Georgia. Steve Keirn, a lot of you may remember him later on becoming one half of the Fabulous Ones with Stan Lane. Steve Keirn went on to be WWF Skinner there in WWF as well. He will be taking on Kevin Sullivan. A lot of you remember Kevin Sullivan as the Taskmaster, as Kevin Sullivan had a Dungeon of Doom there in WCW and had his entourage that run roughshod there in WCW. So right now, let's go and take a look at Steve Keirn against Kevin Sullivan.
Personality profile this week concerns the fact that Kevin Sullivan not only is the national television champion, but during this past week went into an entirely different kind of competition.
I certainly did. You know, last Saturday was a big day for me. I regained the belt that rightfully is mine. I inherited this belt from Divine Right, Gordon. This belt is mine from Divine Right.
Well, I would like to talk, if you don't mind, I would like to talk about the fact that you went to Tennessee and won some bodybuilding competitions.
Well, last Saturday, I went to Athens, Tennessee, and won the Mr. Tennessee contest. I won the most muscular. I won best legs and best back. You know, it's been a hard road for me since I've been here. You know, you people have always been talking about Tony Atlas, what he's got. Well, take a look at this, Tony Atlas. You're not the only one, Steve Keirn. You know, I want to get back to Steve Keirn for a minute, you know, because I think I am the strongest professional wrestler, the best built professional wrestler, and by far the smartest one.
Well, I wonder if you wouldn't mind doing us a favor. I know that you have to do it through certain poses.
I'd gladly do it for you, Gordon.
All right, I'd like to have the people see just exactly. We've been noticing, Kevin, over the past several months, the tremendous muscular definition and conformation.
That was what won me the best back, Gordon. And that is what won me the best legs and chest and most muscular. But getting back to Steve Keirn, you know, I was in Knoxville last week and talking to my good friend Doc Haskins and Dirty George Cavaleris, and they were telling me that this man has a lot of guts. You know, I have to admit one thing. The last time we met was a Boston Street Fight match, and it took me 3 days to get out of bed, so I know it had to take him a week. And you know what they told me? George and Professor Haskins, they told me this guy has a lot of guts. But the lovely Miss Florence came in, and she's got it real clear. She says, this guy doesn't got guts. He's 12 loads short. Well, this man is sick. This man
I would like to get back to the fact, how many hours a day have you been working out to get yourself in this kind of condition?
Since August, Gordon, I started a severe training program. I'm not going to say that I'm the only wrestler that trains hard. There's 1,000 wrestlers in the country, and 90% of them train as hard or harder than any professional athletes. Mongolian Stomper, I got to give Keirn credit. Steve O, there's a lot of talented people. But I started training 2 hours a day, 7 days a week since August, and I haven't had a day off, Gordon.
And since then, you've won the Tennessee competition.
I have. Gordon, I'm going to go on to bigger and better things, and I'm going to go in this ring and whip him right now because this man has got something in my side. This man, I am going to prove either this man got a lot of guts or he's crazy, and I think this man is crazy.
Thank you so very much. Kevin Sullivan, who won the bodybuilding competition and seems to have somewhat of a one-track mind right now. Let's turn it over to our ring announcer.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a title match for the National TV Championship. One fall, 15-minute time limit. Introducing first from Boston, Massachusetts, weighing in at 220 pounds, the National TV Champion, Kevin Sullivan. The opponent, the challenger from Tampa, Florida, weighing in at 229 pounds, Steve Keirn.
Steve Keirn going up against Kevin Sullivan. And, of course, you know, Sullivan was talking about winning that title last week. There's some controversy around that, too. A lot of ringsiders, and I did not catch it on television, and I'm not sure it was on. I'm going to have to review the video on it. But I had several people tell me today that they thought that Sullivan had Steve-O by the trunks. Now, I can't verify that. Oh, wow, look at this ride by Keirn. Keirn, beautiful ride now, trying to turn Sullivan. Notice the way Sullivan hooked that leg. Sullivan counter wrestling now, Keirn after him. Both of them back to the basics. Keirn Keirn, there's some more of that psychological warfare. Hip lock takedown, but Sullivan got him with a head scissors. Keirn turned that to his own advantage momentarily. Look at the way Keirn turned in, tried to reverse Nelson the head of Kevin Sullivan. Now Sullivan underhooks the arm, had to break his hold. Now it's Sullivan turning into his man. Good and beautiful float over by Keirn. Blocked that very, very nicely. Keirn with the ride now. Hooks back of the knee. Again, a float over by Keirn. And both men back on the mat. Sullivan turns to his man, Keirn. Very much the aggressor thus far. Remember, of course, Sullivan has time on his side. And again, there's Keirn floating over, starting the ride. Partial post to the arm. Now Sullivan. Bottom wrist locks the arm. Keirn. Again, floats over.
Hit him in the face while he's down there.
Front chancery now by Steve Keirn. Inside cradle by Keirn. One. Tried for the quick pin, and Sullivan back on his feet. Good back out by Keirn. As Sullivan went for the near leg, Keirn backed away. Lateral drop and takedown from that bottom wrist lock. And so, Kevin Sullivan, the National Television Championship on the line here. And Keirn is keeping the pressure on Sullivan. He is pushing the fight to him. Smashed into that turnbuckle now. Sullivan, then by the hair, all of a sudden Sullivan taking the shortcuts. And it is Keirn retaliating, a boot to the midsection, a beautiful forearm to the side of the head. Snap mare and a rear chin lock.
Get your hands off his head.
All right, Keirn has the hammerlock. Notice the way he wings it now into a bottom wrist lock hammerlock. Winging through now, comes out on the other side. So Sullivan on the canvas, and so Keirn. Apparently, Keirn's theory is to wear him down, keep him tied up, let Sullivan expend his energy. Sullivan caught him with an elbow, then came off with a good shoulder smash. Keirn hooked the arm, a swinging takedown.
Punch him in the arm. Go ahead, hit him.
Keirn mounts more pressure on Sullivan. Remember, Sullivan is the national television champion.
Get off his leg.
The time is his ally, not Keirn's. Into the ropes. And Keirn again, some more of that psychological warfare. Where Steve-O was doing it with comments to his competitor, Keirn is now doing it with little slaps across the head. Got him with a forearm that time. Arm twist and stretch here. Overhooks the head. Keirn drives him back to the ropes. Sullivan, clean break. And Keirn leaning. Wow! Sullivan caught him. Sullivan caught him coming in. And Keirn has been shaken. Sullivan catching him again. So Sullivan now seizing the advantage here and pressing that advantage. Jolting right hand to the forehead. Another one to the back of the head. A boot to the rib cage by Sullivan. Sullivan now flat of the foot to the forehead. Smashes Steve Keirn into that turnbuckle. Keirn smashed into that turnbuckle again. Got him with an elbow coming off the ropes. lateral press. Keirn powers out. And so Sullivan has stemmed the rising tide thus far of Steve Keirn, and now seems to be turning that tide around. Tried to leapfrog his man. Ooh, off those ropes. And Sullivan off of those ropes as Keirn caught him, as Sullivan tried to leapfrog him. Keirn caught him coming in. Brings him up now, and Steve Keirn has Sullivan in a lot of trouble here. A shoulder breaker, back to the mat. Vertical press, but again Sullivan. And Sullivan outside the ring. Outside the ring, and Sullivan in trouble now. So the national television champion, Kevin Sullivan, in a lot of trouble out there. And he's still outside the ring, coming back. No, sir. He broke the count. Broke the count. And it is Sullivan favoring that shoulder. He has broken the count again. Starts to get into the ring. And Keirn now becoming irate over the fact that Sullivan is deliberately stalling here. And again breaks. And wait a minute, Keirn's out of the ring after him. Steve Keirn has gone out of the ring after Kevin Sullivan. He's brought him back into the ring. Now Sullivan. Now Sullivan fighting for his life, and now it's Sullivan. Outside the ring again and again. Steve Keirn is after him. Sullivan back in the ring now. Sullivan catching Keirn coming in. And now Steve Keirn giving all he's got to Kevin Sullivan, and Sullivan's in trouble. And the referee trying to break that one up, thrown aside by Steve Keirn. And again, Keirn hurdles the referee aside. All he wants is Sullivan. The referee calling for the bell. The referee calling for the bell. Indicating he is disqualifying Steve Keirn. He has disqualified Steve Keirn for Keirn's manhandling of himself. The referee acting here, and I certainly can't say that I blame him. Steve Keirn's temper got the best of him. And Kevin Sullivan coming up very slowly. And Sullivan Kevin Sullivan now seems to be regaining some of that courage, but he certainly obviously broke that count several times. Broke the count on numerous occasions, an obvious stalling ploy, and Steve Keirn finally lost his cool entirely, took after Sullivan, had him. The referee tried to break it up, and as he did, Keirn just hurtled him to one side. He tried to break it up a second time, and the referee took the only justifiable action that I could think of at that particular point.
Oh, I interrupt you, Gordon. I'm sorry. But let me tell you something. Every time I've been out here on television for a television title, the guy's either dumped me over the top or he's got out and tried to stall out the time. Well, today, maybe I got disqualified. Maybe I was in the wrong as far as the rules go. But Sullivan, you little rat, you can run, you can hide, but I'm not going to quit and I'm not going to give up because you have that TV title. You are the champion, but you ain't going to hang on to it as long as I'm after you because I'm going to follow you out of the ring. The last time I was in the Omni with Sullivan, I was in a Boston street fight. I've never been in one in my life. I fought Kevin Sullivan to the top of the building almost in that Omni. The next time I wrestle Kevin Sullivan, if I have to fight him to the top of the building, out on the street, all the way down to the Capitol building, I'll fight him. But I'm going to beat you, Sullivan. Remember that. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to take your TV title, and I'm going to put it right around my waist if I have to follow you around the ring 100 times.
Steve, I can appreciate how you feel. It must be very frustrating, and I'll tell you what, I think perhaps I'd like to give you a couple of minutes to calm down and to regain your senses regarding that situation. It was no question in my mind. He kept breaking the count, so he...
So, Gordon, why can't he stay in the ring? He's got to stay in the ring till one man loses. I can accept defeat if I'm beat. I'll stay in the ring if I have to. But if he can't stay in the ring, he ain't got no business wrestling. I heard him talking about such a great bodybuilder. This is not bodybuilding. This is professional wrestling, not bodybuilding. I don't care what he looks like. I don't care if he's short, fat. And besides, anybody from the winds of East Tennessee, big deal.
Well, okay, Steve. All right. That was no reflection. Let me just say this. That was certainly no reflection on anybody from East Tennessee. It was an outstanding bodybuilding contest, and I must give Kevin Sullivan credit. And certainly Steve meant no reflection to anybody in Tennessee. Man, he's angry, he's mad, he's excited, and certainly that's understandable. And Freddie, hopefully, if you'll take Steve aside and chat with him a little bit, perhaps we can talk to him later on.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of things he said were most legitimate, and some of the things were said in anger, but he's got a case against Sullivan, and I thought he expressed it very well, Gordon.
He did indeed, and that's all the time we have for this particular hour, and we'll be back.